Sometimes when I write these preview guides, I can be accused of being a bit too positive. And yes, it's true, I do like a whole lot of shows. I'm normally quite lenient in giving shows a second chance at appealing at me. That trust can only go so far, and after one of the most positive previews I've ever posted last time, I fear this time it may be quite the opposite. It's not a total wash, however. I won't spoil the result for you before you've watched my preview, since I still want you to watch this video after all. So thank you again for tuning into another part of a 2017 Autumn Anime Preview, from a different perspective. Anime based on musical acts is another ongoing theme of series in recent years. From schoolgirl pop stars to full-on brass bands, you never know what you're going to get. This season is no different. We released 4 shows taking up the challenge. The first show to start with us like this season is Sookie Pro the Animation. Sookie Pro is an anime about not one band but 4. It's about a talent agency known as a Sookie Entertainment Production. Thus the name Sookie Pro. They're putting on a musical festival over 2 days, and the 4 main groups have chosen to be performing on the second day. Not really and see much of a planning of this, as a majority of the episode is focused on introducing us to the 4 bands and trying to get us to remember who everybody is. They failed. It's not that every character looks the same, they just look like a parade of stereotypical Bishonen characters. And because we have over 16 of them, they sort of blend together, so unless you end up a die-hard fan of these bands, you won't really be able to tell them apart. Our bands this time consist of Suara, who are described as a bright and energetic pop group of young men, Growth, a fantastic and enchanting group of aristocratic men, Quell, a group popular for inspiring and emotional music, and finally a group was described as inspiring audiences with both cold and hot passion, solids, with a capital S, of course. So 4 bands with descriptions written to set them apart from one another, but even still they seem so similar, and those descriptions are pretty much the same as each other anyway. We do get some interesting looks into the day-to-day lives of these bands, from the agony of writing and recording new songs, to their personal lives. Recording a phone commercial is just one of the challenges, and a challenge that is just about as cheesy as humanly possible. We have a group recording a web radio show, another having a romantic evening meal. No reason to feed with shippers if a ship's all sailed for you after all. Seriously though, there are more staring into eyes than your average optician's convention. There's definitely an audience for shows like Sookie Pro, but I can honestly say that I'm not really part of that audience. If you think you're part of the audience, you can find it over at Crunchyroll. Coming of age stories are a classic when it comes to anime stories. And so a coming of age story based around old friends finding each other, again, isn't going to light up any pre-season preview guides. But just because it did interest me more than just a little, as it looks to be based on a point in the coming of age story that we rarely join at the end of a high school, just before graduation. We usually join this kind of story at the start of the first year of high school, and it's the obvious way to introduce a large number of characters at a point where they haven't set up a whole circle of relationships yet. And so to join a group of students towards the end of their school lives is an interesting choice. Instead of allowing us to naturally get to know the characters, we are thrust upon them in already formed bonds at a point where those bonds are being stretched and questioned into the future. Thankfully, we do have an audience aiding insertion in form of Aita, a bored-looking student who moved away from the area in middle school, but had to move back again due to family issues just before the end of high school. To be fair, not a whole lot happens in this first episode. We see a whole bunch of students milling around doing school things. The photography club is in danger of being shut down. Some girls are stopped from going to karaoke due to needing to speak to a teacher. And the band is still practicing, and some guys are randomly hitting balls on a baseball field. The whole thing comes across plots, not so much as a coming-of-age story, almost like a daytime TV soap opera, only without the drama. It's just the daily life of people at school. All in all, it's a pretty calming affair. Of the characters, the first who stood out to me was Mia. She's previously student council president, though given where we are in their school life, she's already passed on that to the next generation, it seems. She still comes across as a smart girl, but one who's popular amongst her peers. She seems to have a connection to Ada in the past. Maybe she used to like him? So could be something more to worth watching here. Ina too stood out from the crowd, if only because she was the source of most of the volume from this episode. Unlike the others, Ina is a second year, and is of the photography club. She's up in arms about it being threatened with a closure, and so she goes to Mia for advice. She seems to be quite impulsive and a bright, happy character altogether. Finally, not the last character, but the one which stood out to me, is Haruto, one of Ata's old friends before he moved away. He's the one who was playing baseball after school. He had a wish to make, but if he was able to hit a home run, he would finally confess his feelings. Obviously, as we don't know him before this, we didn't know how long he's loved her for. Once he finally hits that home run, we wish him well. For a show with no fanfare, just because it's a type of show that often gets ignored, it's a sad thing. There's a lot of what just because that's the show is looking like it's worth watching. You can watch two over at Anime Strike in America and High Dive in the UK. There are several ways to get me interested in a new anime series. There are the shallow methods like casting one of my favourite seiyuu, or having the series animated by one of my favourite studios. You can lure me in with a promise of cute girls doing cute things, or a really gripping plot. Or you can lure me in with a real interesting trailer, or good build up to a series. King's Game the animation didn't do any of this. To be fair, that's not entirely true. I do like Yuri and quite a few of the other seiyuu in the series. We aren't put forward as a reason to watch this show. King's Game the animation is presented as a survival horror series, where a murderous king's game, kind of like a Japanese Simon Says, begins, and the bloodbath results. The series itself is quite dark as you'd expect. The lead guy Nobuaki walking through what can only be described as a house game, before being told that he needs to survive by naked girls swimming next to him. Not quite sure why this happened, but it was a powerful start to the episode at least. And then, suddenly a sports festival. As if nothing happened. Apparently this hasn't happened yet, or it was a nightmare, but regardless, no one seems to be worried about a hellscape in the intro. Suddenly another time skip back to a start to his time in school. Seriously, the anime uses time skips more frequently than it really should. It gives them a chance to throw up character names of all classmates at least. I'm sure you want to know the names of people who will sacrifice the name of a plot in the coming weeks. Hori's character, Natsuko Honda, is the most chipper and friendly girl you've ever imagined. Now I'm not saying she's typecast here, but characters like this are what Yui Hori's bright and cheerful voice really shines through. Imagine Minori Kushieda from Toradora, who's not far from her money. And so we start to see the King's Game begin. At first it's something as simple as a demand to kiss Natsuko. The message goes to everybody in class. Despite Nobuaki trying to warn them of the dangers, he comes across as a madman telling them to obey his orders or die, with laughter unfitted. At least until the real game starts. When he accidentally agrees to it by being kissed by Natsuko, the real game starts. And suddenly the class all get the same order. Don't sleep. Of course, no one believes it. Now I start getting messages saying that people have died and start to understand just what has actually happened. And that Nobuaki wasn't just being crazy. But at this point it's too late, of course. Really, King's Game looks to be a less thrilling take on the sacrifice game type of series. Similar to last year's Magical Girl Racing Project anime. Characters are thrown together in a crazy scenario, and inevitably there'll be 2 or 3 left at the end, fighting against the system. It's a tired cliche. It's one which can work with done right, and it's not sure could be done right here. If you do want to pledge your obedience to a king, you can watch King's Game, the animation, on Chord. Remember how at the start of this episode I said how anime based on bands can be hit or miss? And I really didn't like what Sookie Pro the animation had on offer? Well, I take it all back. Everything is forgiven. Please, just don't make me sit for another half hour like the one I just experienced with the first episode of Dynamic Chord. Seriously. If Sookie Pro was a series with a goal, a package of 4 interesting boy bands of pretty boys preparing for a major concert event, their Dynamic Chord is a story of... I can honestly say, I still don't know what. I understand that there are bands involved. That looks to be one of them, and one of my main characters, the only one I can really recognise as he has a distinct head of chromia, is being lined up to replace the vocalist of a main band. The previous vocalist has suddenly announced his exit from a band, sending shockwaves throughout the industry. Not that we could really tell much of it in this one episode, as I'd hazard that probably half of it was presented in the form of some of the worst CG animation music videos, within an anime for a song they clearly want to sell to a rabid fangirl populace, this series is targeted towards. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people who look at computer generated content and throw up. CG anime has moved on quite a huge amount since the terrible days of old. Just look at the dance sequences of the likes of Love Live. While it's clearly CG, it's on the same style as the anime and so isn't too jarring. Even the CG in Sookie Pro isn't distracting, but the CG parts of Dynamic Chord are woeful. Instead of giving their characters fluid motion throughout, they appear to be being treating their characters like 2D puppets, moving around 1 or 2 limbs at a time, resulting in weird hinged puppet effect, also resulting in some of the most interesting looking arm movements outside of a hentai anime. I imagine some fangirls will have a meltdown seeing how they treat their guitars. Imagine the guitar is instead replaced by something else. It's hard to actually see what Dynamic Chord wants to be, and where it sees itself going in the future. But at the moment it feels little more than a soap opera based around a talent agency. I'm half expecting someone to wake up and tell me it was just a dream, and that none of this actually happened. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. Anyway. I don't know why you would want to, but if you are some kind of masochist, you can find Dynamic Chord over on High Dive. So, was that as negative as he thought? Hopefully not, but I'm not giving any apologies, as some of these shows were truly woeful. Normal service will hopefully resume next time, but if you did disagree with my thoughts on these shows, then don't give them to yourself. Let me know in the comments why I'm wrong. As ever, I have to thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.